So, welcome everyone to Carving a New Path. My name is Andrea Hylen, and I am the host of the show. And just briefly, for anyone who's never listened to the show, this podcast began in 2020 in response to all the change that people were experiencing. And I invited guests on the podcast who had experienced, I'm just going to call it a disruption of some sort in their lives, where they were really called to listen to their inner voice and they birthed new ways of being in the world. And so we have conversations that include tools and resources that they used, parts of themselves that they accessed. And I'm really excited because right now the guest today is Ek Lipanovska. Marie and I have known each other for a while. At some point, I'll come up with the time frame. But yeah, we met in like 2010, 2011, somewhere around there, and have had many adventures together. So Marie helps women become a good mother to themselves and to develop a deep and personal relationship to God. She does this through meditation, writing, and art. She is a writer, an illustrator, artist, and meditation teacher, and also the founder of Heal My Voice Sweden and a publisher of 13 books, which is one of our connections. But I'm really excited because Marie came to me with the idea. I was always saying to her, if you ever have any ideas to do a series, let me know. And so she has a series idea. And today is part 3 in a 12-part series called Unfolding the Gift from God. And the focus of the first show was life. Last week was writing. And this week, we're going to enter into meditation. So I'm going to be silent and turn the microphone over to Marie. So welcome, Marie, and take it away.
Thank you. Meditation. I think many of us think of meditation as a tool, a spiritual tool.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's so much more than a tool. And when you introduced me and you said that the first episode was life, the second was writing, I just saw the words in the beginning of the Bible. The creation of life, the days when God created the world, and the word is mentioned as Jesus. So it's like first you have life, and then you have the word Jesus, and then from that I have meditation. For me, I think every person has this, unique gift that is given to him or her from God. And I believe that meditation is that foundation. It's the source of where all the other gifts come alive. For me, meditation is that, it's that deep, graceful part of me. It's not a tool, it is me. Meditation is me. So, and I guess I didn't understand the importance of meditation, and that it was a gift that I was given by God in 1983 or 84. I was 14 years old, and I was not a Christian, but as many teenagers, I stepped into church at that age to have, to confirmation. I think it's called the same thing in English. So, and the only thing that I remember from that time in church was this meditation that the priest led us in. It's the only thing that I remember, nothing else. And looking back, I understand that she planted a seed when I was a teenager. And I didn't open that gift from God. That's my spiritual gift, the gift of grace and love and life and so much more, stillness. And I opened that 3 months after I turned 30. So it's like, okay, I see, the resemblance with Jesus. Like, okay. But I didn't know that back then. A couple of years ago, I understood that meditation is more than a tool for me. It's a way of living.
Yeah.
It's my inner being. And yeah, it took me 16 years before I entered into a women's circle with guided meditation. And I talked about that in the first episode of the 3-part series in the show Abba, My Heavenly Father, not the Swedish pop group. So when I stepped into that women's circle and sat down for the first time, I thought, to meditate, it was more like I walked into what had been planted in me 16 years earlier. So from that flower that I remember the guided meditation the priest led, it was a daisy. And I was, that daisy had become a whole world inside of me. Like a whole Mother Earth, with mountains and trees and forests and rivers and oceans and everything. So talking about meditation is like talking about myself.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
I think, I don't know how many years ago, 5, 6 years ago, when I started to read books by, John of the Cross, Saint Teresa of Avila. When I was starting reading books by them, what we often call as the Christian mystics, I realized that we had something in common. Because they were talking about the soul, some of them as many different rooms in a castle or in a temple. And I realized that I was doing the same thing that they are doing. I am able to walk within my soul and explore her, but she's not a castle. She's like Mother Earth. She's rivers, she's, grass, she's flowers. But I had this deeper connection with my soul. I thought everybody had that. I thought everybody could just step into themselves and walk around like they walk around in a park. And I have been working as a meditation teacher for many years, since 2008. And as a teacher, I realized that I have this deeper connection. And that's why they love being in my groups, because I can hold the space, because it's not a tool. It is me. It's my being. It's myself. It's my inner self. So
Yeah.
I'm allowing them to walk in my inner self. That is what I sense the image of God. And that's why I understand and can help them and guide them in their images, because I'm so connected when I lead a meditation group.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm leading them within myself, in my own essence. And I know sometimes they ask me, how, I don't understand. How can you, where do you find this wisdom and knowledge in
Mhm.
these images that I just told you about? And it's
Mhm.
like, I don't know. I just know.
Mhm.
It's not something that I have to figure out. I just understand the images. So, and I guess I'm still trying to develop and unfold this gift of meditation. And I have tried different kind of meditations, guided
Same here.
meditation, in Christian meditation, and um, Bible meditation, and now it's more like contemplation. I
Mhm.
just sit there,
Mhm.
inside of myself. I just sit there and I lean my head on Jesus' shoulder,
Mhm.
and I just want to spend time with God.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I I'm glad you brought up different kinds of meditation because that was something I was thinking about. Because to me, part of the me part of meditating is even things like moving my body, and it could be walking in nature and just feeling the connection and opening myself to kind of that emptiness of just being in the world. And sometimes it involves when I'm in places that might be a little bit busier, like a busier city, is being open to messages on bumper stickers. I was looking for a photo today in my, from my reel of photos on my computer. And I found all these photos where I had seen the word wander, or I had seen the answers within you. And it's like there's something about it's not just seeing it out there, but it's bringing it within myself into this space of stillness. And I was also thinking about how I wonder if for you there's meditation with drawing and seeing what comes through you, or writing. Do you consider that meditation in some ways?
It's meditation for me. It's like, I don't know if you can use this word. It's beingness. It's like it's me being.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have this huge space in myself, um, so the drawings and illustrations or the paintings, they come from that place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's not something that drops from the sky down into me, into me. It's like it's more like flowers growing from the ground. So
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the illustrations, for example, Sötnusen, my character, the inner child, the little girl from God, she comes from that place.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the meditation is the mother, I can say.
Mm-hmm.
He is
Mm-hmm.
the mother to all the creations coming through me.
Right.
Meditation is the
Right.
mother.
Yes. Yes. Well,
So,
and
so she's like a mother earth, you know,
sure. And
with
and
all different creatures. So
and it feels to me like I will call creativity a meditation for myself, as because it is a way to connect with the mother, so that if I wanted to connect with Mother Earth, for instance, putting my hands in the soil can help me form a connection, like plugging in the electricity into the wall, whatever, accessing that space. I was thinking too that Lydia Romero Johnson did a talk for On Purpose Woman last week about intuition. And actually it was a talk that was much broader than that, but that's kind of where she had us start. And she was asking how has using your intuition served you well in your business? And there was a point where in a breakout room, I thought, I can't really like separate intuition from business from intuition from life. And what I was talking about was there's a practice that feels like meditation to me where I just pause throughout the day. And if I do not pause in between spaces, I feel really tired at the end of the day. Whereas if I just, in between a coaching call or in between a podcast or working on the computer, if I just stop and tap into the stillness, tap into this gift, even for a minute or two, like there is a life source that is in that, where I just get rid of all the other to-dos or all the other, whatever, expectation, and just be in that space. It feels like emptying fills me up to know what is mine to do next, or to be next, or hold space. So what are your thoughts about that?
I think something has changed so dramatically the last years, couple of years, how I view meditation and this gift that I have. I know that some people talk about, for instance, channeling, like they are plugging into some kind of source, and through them, comes words and or paintings or whatever. That is not how it works for me. It's not something that I channel. It is something that I am. It is not God flowing through me. It is God producing within me. So the creations that come from this place, it's more like I walk in the nature and suddenly I see a flower that I haven't seen before. So I don't, it's so different what it used to be. So I realized when you were talking about intuition, it's like, I don't think of intuition that often anymore, because it's more like I wander around and I just allow life to, show me things. I'm not sure I can put words on it, but it's more like being like nature. There is, there are so much planted within the soil that we never see, and that doesn't come to the surface until it's time, or the right circumstances are there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is how I live now. And it's different from everything else. I cannot produce on demand.
Mm-hmm.
If someone says to me, can you do this or can you do that? Can you paint it? No.
Uh-huh.
I can if I force myself to do it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it will not come naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it's more like, oh, this year I have apples.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to make you something
Yes. Yes.
something around apples? This is what I have.
Oh my
And
gosh. Yes.
but I can't, but you can't demand anything. I can't create and produce out of what people want from me anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm just like nature. This year there will be, yeah, flowers. This year there will be uh, fruits. Next year, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing that I can control, but I know that is sustainable. I know that's the right way of living. I know that's the way we should live, not on people's demand and wishes, but what is actually planted in us from God, not from anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different lifestyle, and it's almost impossible for me to have any connections, for example, with a publisher. I have
Mm-hmm.
been talking to different publishers around Sötnusen, for example, but they want to order something from me. Can you
Mm-hmm.
do this book or
Mm-hmm.
this calendar? And it's like, no, I
Uh-huh.
cannot produce because you want something that you know you are able to sell. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, but this is what I have. If you
Yeah.
want this, make it into a book, make it into a deck of cards or whatever. But this is what I have this year.
Mm-hmm.
This is the harvest 2024.
Right.
I
Right.
don't know what I will be harvesting next year because I don't know what God has in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And people, it's like, oh, but you can, that's not you. I have to be able to plan. And yeah, that's the human mind, but that's not how I live anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you with that. And I'm wondering about just another layer of that, if that sometimes you can feel that something's bubbling and it's it isn't there yet, or you have the title of something, or you have a fruit that comes, and yet you don't know what the picture is going to be. Yeah.
That is how that is how I write when I blog. It's I'm just stepping into the river,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it just flows freely. And now I notice that it doesn't. It's like, okay, and I just accept that and feel, okay, that's how it is right now. Something else is going on. The energy is moving in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
That is how Sötnusen suddenly one day she was just there on my paper. And
Mm-hmm.
that is how I suddenly one day, Madame Oulala turned up,
Mm-hmm.
this woman.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
still don't understand and I still don't know because, yeah, I don't know her yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how suddenly Jesus came to life, as the son of the carpenter on my pages. So I never know. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Happens because I allow it. I
Mm-hmm.
can feel the energy building up. Something is going on, but I don't know what.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to figure it out. I'm not trying to dig it up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just notice something is going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know something is going to turn up sooner or later. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a different way of living, and it is both exciting because you never know.
Mm-hmm.
You absolutely don't know. and and at the same time, it's living with uncertainty,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that people cannot order from me. I
Mm-hmm.
have tried. I've done some of that work, but it's not good for me or my soul.
Right. Right.
It's like squeezing out the energy, like forcing the tomato to become a tomato, even though it was meant to be a melon.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it feels.
Yeah. Well, another aspect of meditation that I think about is how it used to be something where I would go to a meditation circle, and there's always something that I learned or discovered, something I mean, I love to do things in circles. I love to be in that energy with people. And so it felt like I could access a part of myself by being there. And in some ways, I would then leave it there or check it off my list. Like, oh, I've meditated. Now I'll go be in this other world. And over time, with this whole idea of pausing throughout the day, knowing that I am plugged in. I don't have to go plug in. I'm already there. That this is available all the time. This space, this empty space. I'm wondering, I mean, the thing that comes to me is how the the outer world is the manifestation of this connection to the empty, still space. I'm wondering if you have words for describing the difference between going to a meditation circle, checking it off your list, and how it's all interconnected, that it's not a separate thing from walking through life. Does this make sense? Am I?
Yeah, it does make sense. That is how for me, meditation started. It started with me going to a group, a circle,
Mm-hmm.
to meditate together, to just to be with my own thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Just sit down and breathe,
Mm-hmm.
and to connect inwards. That
Mm-hmm.
is what it started as, a practice. And today, it's how I live. I live from that space.
Right.
It's like walking back home to oneself. Meditation has been a tool a path to walk back to myself, to who I am. And now it's like I live from that space, and then I step out into the world to
Mm-hmm.
connect to you, for example,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
to my children or grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as this conversation is over, I go back home.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to live outside of myself.
Right. Right.
And I went to that circle to meditate, to just have a sense of being home. And now I am home.
Mm-hmm.
And I step out of myself to interact with the world. So, and if I stay outside of myself too long, I get so tired.
Mm-hmm.
It's only in nature that I don't, the life source is not used. It's like that's the only interaction with another living being that doesn't take any energy at all.
Mhm.
It's like, we are the same. That's how I feel. We are the same.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
So, but you
yeah.
have to start somewhere.
So what would you suggest for people and even for people who have meditated and maybe who have been told that, you know, you really need to sit on a cushion for 30 minutes or for an hour every morning or whatever the kind of rules have been around meditation. How would you suggest people get started or any tips or insights about meditation?
I think going to a circle or a meditation group is a good thing to
Mhm.
start a new practice. And I know that many of my participants, I had, they stayed, some of them for over 10 years.
Mhm.
And they needed that help to go that deep.
Mhm.
So it's also knowing that some of us, for me, meditation is a gift. That's a gift of grace. And it is something that is meant for others. I serve people through that. And other people have other gifts. So, but it is a great tool to step away from the world, from the pressure, from the stress, from the anxiousness, and from the all the noises. It's a great way of just learning to understand and separate oneself from that noise and
Mhm.
getting in contact with themselves. And understanding that most of the times when I say I think, it's not my thoughts. It is their thoughts. And when I say I want, it is what they want. So to find any practice that where I connect back home to myself, to peace, to love, to light, and there is also darkness. You cannot connect to yourself and believe and think that you will always only find light. You won't. You have
Mhm.
to go through the darkness too. That's also me. And in a world that wants us to be consumers, knowing that we're not here to consume the nature or other people. We're here to guard Mother Earth. So I think one have to find what comes most natural sometimes. Sometimes it is sitting under a tree.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's just focusing on your breath for a while. Sometimes it's just laying flat down on the ground.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's trying different kind of meditations to understand what suits my soul best.
Mhm.
And some people need meditation that, where you also focus on your body, because it's a way of also listening to your soul through your body. So there is so many ways to use meditation. Different cultures use different kind of meditation. So, and for me, it's me. Meditation is me. That's who I am. We're meant to. That is actually how we are all created, I believe, to be present, to be conscious, to be aware, and just finding I have a fly, and just finding that technique that suits you best until it just becomes you. I remember I read in a book by he's a monk. He is dead now. His name is Wilfrid Stinnesen, and I think he came from Germany, but he lived in Sweden at a monastery. And I remember he once wrote in a book that when you have found your way, don't try to change that style. That is such a good match to your soul, because someone tells you this is how you should do it. Honor that, that style that you have found is it's liberating. It connects you. It comes with peace. It feels natural. And for me, that was important because I have my own way. And it's so natural. It almost seems like, should it be so easy? Should it be hard?
Right.
Everybody says it's hard.
Uh-huh.
They say, oh, I only see in black and white. Do you? Oh, I hear music, and all my senses are alive.
Mhm.
And one thing around meditation that I also want to say is, in the beginning for me, it was about awakening my inner senses.
Mhm. Mhm.
To look with your inner sight and hear with your inner, hearing. And then when you have practiced it for a very long time, it's no more about having a lot of, then it becomes more about quieting all the senses. They are there, but it's not about seeing as much as I can, hearing as much as I can. It's more about, no, now it's time to go deeper. Beyond all the senses, there is a new layer that is just be here, without trying to produce anything or awakening anything, because that's where you find the presence of God, beyond the senses. And then trying to understand, who is God? It's not about me. Who is God? Your interests turns from yourself to the other. It's like, who are you? It's not about who am I? It's like, who are you? So, yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to say to the listeners that what I hope from this conversation is that you can hear kind of in between the layers of what is here, and that it's not about finding another thing that you're supposed to do the right way. It is about tuning in to what it is for you and to recognize the expansion that's here by exploring what it is for you. And, I'll just say one thing about it, that I spend a lot of time sitting between being on calls on through Zoom, writing, reading. And so sometimes for me to shake it all off, I will go for a walk without listening to anything, without trying to get one more thing done. It's like to move my body and to tap into the source of the stillness that's there. It's like I'm just shaking it off. So that really works for me because I feel on that walk, I feel connected to everything. I feel like I'm connected to myself. I'm held, I'm supported, and everything around me is that I'm connected with. And I'm not trying to get an answer, although sometimes answers come. It's just to be in that space. And I feel like the first time I really tapped into something beyond myself was when I was in a meditation in a group of like 50 people in one of those rooms in a hotel. And we're all laying on the ground, we're being led in this meditation. And there was this point where there was so much quiet and stillness in the room. I felt connected to nothing and everything at the same time. And I'm really glad that I resisted opening my eyes, because in that moment, I felt like I was alone in that room and everyone had left. And, like I'd fallen asleep or something. And I just stayed with that feeling of even if I'm in the room alone, I'm still connected to everything and everyone, while I'm also in this space of nothing, of the empty space. And once I experienced that, I could then find it again, whether I was walking or I was laying on my bed or something, that space of emptiness and everything. And about 5 minutes later, the woman who was leading the meditation spoke and let us out, led us back into our body space. And I opened my eyes. I was like, whoa, everyone is still here. And so am I. And so is Source. And yeah.
Yeah, I believe a good meditation teacher leads you to a place of peace and oneness. And as you say, there is nothing and there is still everything.
Mhm.
And you're connected and you're still not connected to anyone. It's like this
Right.
weird space
Yeah,
of
it is. Right. Like you're floating somewhere.
yeah,
And
and
yeah.
it's like it's another reality. For me, it's God's reality.
Mhm.
And it's so different from the reality we live in.
Mm.
And there is another order.
Mhm.
And I believe we need to quiet our minds
Mhm.
and our emotions and sit down and just be still, because our bodies are always doing something.
Uh-huh.
So to you can't come to that depth in your own being and at the same time being occupied with something on the other side. You can't. It's impossible. You're
Yeah.
either out there or you're in here. You can't
Mhm.
be on both places at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you want to go deep to understand yourself, then you can't just go to a meditation group once a week. You have to live that kind of life
Mhm. Mhm.
where it's quiet. It's not sometimes quiet. It's mostly quiet and sometimes there are noises.
Right. Right.
You're mostly not contemplating or just being in present with doing the dishes or writing or something. And so it's another kind of lifestyle.
Mhm.
So it's not, it's logical that people that chose the lifestyle as monks or nuns in all religions, they can go deeper because they are living in silence and stillness.
Yeah.
So it's like you're sinking deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
Mhm.
And it takes time. So even if you're trained, you can sit for 30 minutes and all you hear is your, chat, blah, 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 blah. It's like
Right.
voices. And you ask yourself, where do all these voices come from? Then you notice, oh, that's something I heard on TV yesterday. Oh,
Mhm.
that sentence, it actually came from that conversation. And sometimes it's like, that's what I overheard my neighbor say that. And you realize, oh my God, it's just pouring into your soul
Mhm.
without you even noticing it.
Yeah.
The advertising, the energy, the emotions of others, the thoughts about it's just pouring into you and your soul.
Mhm.
That's why you have the monastery, out in the desert or up in the mountain.
Mhm.
Because if the more time I need to, sort out what is from humans and what are from God, it takes time
Mhm.
to digest and go deep. So most people are afraid of the silence because it will all come back, all the emotions that are stuffed down or all the thoughts that I don't think I think. It is in the silence. So yeah. And when you have
So,
lived away from that, I did that for many years, then you realize that most of what people say are just some kind of replay of what someone else said. It doesn't come from that depth of the I.
mhm.
So
Yeah. Well, and the other piece that it brings up for me is it will expand your ability to listen, to observe, and to witness. And it helps to balance the ego that I mean, we all need an ego. It helps keep us on the planet as part of our definition. And ego can also tell us that we're better than or less than people. And I feel like meditation can help balance that into just being, not better than, less than, but observe and witness and be curious about what's happening in the world outside of you. Yeah. So, Marie, how do you want anything that you want to say to kind of wrap up this rich conversation?
I would say if you haven't tried meditation, then see this as a sign to do that.
Mhm.
And there are good things with the internet. And one thing is that you can actually Google meditation and try different kind of styles.
Mhm.
There are different kind of guided meditations. There are Christian meditations where you step into the Bible and the stories, to understand and see things from different perspectives. For example, that I'm Joseph looking down on the newborn baby,
Mhm.
or I am Mary, or I am the little baby that is newborn. So it's like stepping into the different kind of perspectives and trying to figure out what it is to see the world through those lenses. So it's like it's a very it's an interesting way of meditating. And there are, breathing as a way of meditation and being present, what we often call mindfulness. Be mindful. So just noticing how often our thoughts wander away. So when I'm doing the dishes, I'm, in the future, thinking about what I'm going to do next week. So there are so many different ways of bringing back yourself actually to the present moment. So try different techniques, but as as they usually say in AA, Anonymous Alcoholics, try something for 10 times, then decide if this is something for you or not. You can't do it once.
Right.
And think, oh, I didn't like this. And you can't always, you have to do something for such a long time that it actually is not feeling good. Or you will never come deep, go deep. You have to move through, being uncomfortable or annoying, or this doesn't make any sense. And there's nothing happening. No? Good. Then you're on the right track.
Right. That's right. Yes. It's not to get something.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what we're trained to do. Something is going to happen. I have to experience something. I have to get something. No,
right.
If it's really boring, then it's probably doing you very good. So I remember often some of my clients, when I led Christian meditation or Jesus meditation, whatever you should call it, and I introduced them to Jesus, and they often said, I only met Jesus. You only met Jesus.
Right.
So what is your expectations? Isn't that enough? To have Jesus in front of you? Is that not enough? I only met Jesus. Okay, so we have, it's not about experience. It's not about having something. It's about being and becoming someone. That's what meditation is about.
Yeah. I love that. Well, on that note, I think that's a good place for us to pause, because there will be more conversations. Thank you to everyone for listening. Part 4, the next one that we do, is going to be about children, unfolding the gift from God, children. So we will talk about that. And thank you, Marie, for the conversation. And thank you to the listeners for just staying with us and reflecting for yourself of how is this meaningful for you. Yeah. So until next time, bye-bye now.
Bye.